Okay, let's continue. Honestly, I'm not writing notes as quickly as I'm going through them, as I have been a lot busier lately, but that's okay. Okay, this was a quote from someone that Chris Williamson quoted. I don't know who it was, the original person who the quote came from, but here's the quote. Many people don't have an opinion until they're asked for it, at which point they cobble together a viewpoint from whim and half-remembered hearsay and decide that this 2-minute-old opinion is their new hill to die on. Yes. Here's the thing. You can have... Don't try to make up reasons for, like, it's so easy to just decide what you believe and then make reasons to justify it. It's like you can find things to believe based on their justifications and remain capable of adjusting those beliefs at the onset of new evidence. You have to have that external voice that can look at this and go, that's wrong. Think of machine learning. The way AI learns is you feed it in inputs and then you test the output and then you tell it if the output is good or bad. If there was no one to tell the AIs that these outputs are bad, it's never going to improve the training. You would not be able to see great results today because you have to have the ability to evaluate outputs to train its ability to learn. So you can't just assume that your first output is correct or that any output is correct. Okay. Focus on your most constraining factors. So this one is pretty straightforward, but Alex mentions it because it's such a major factor, and he mentions it again and again, and it's so true, right? So it's like, if you, a simple example, I'll use school as an example. Let's say you have a grade point average. I don't even know exactly how the grade point average works, but let's say you have an average grade of 80%, okay? And you want to improve it. You could improve it by going, okay, so I have a 90 in 3 subjects and a 60 in 1 subject. Wait, a 50. Wait. Yeah, 50 in 1 subject. I could go to my 90% and then try to improve them to 95, and that would for every subject I increase by to 95, I would increase my grade average from 80 to 81.25 or 82.5. Or I could increase my 50% to 60% or 70%, and that would increase my result by a much greater effort to result ratio. And the example here is, most people will choose to work on their 90%, which is fine. But you have to be aware of it. So here's the thing, right? So the reason you choose to work on your 90% is because you feel much more comfortable with it. Because you have a 90% because you're more comfortable with the subject. And here's the thing. It's easier to improve because it's much easier to see where you're wrong. Because at that point, you can teach yourself. And now, obviously, I'm not literally referring to school. I'm talking about your skill sets. And I'll give you an example here. There are basically infinite skill sets that we can learn. And we hate picking up new skills because we hate the feeling of being completely incompetent and directionless. Like, because we don't even know what we don't know at this point. But once you reach a certain level, which is when you can start knowing what you don't know, that way you can self-teach yourself. You can self-regulate, self-iterate. You can see where you go wrong and fix it and improve. And so once you get over that barrier, it's much easier to work. And here's the thing. First of all, why is it okay to when is it okay to neglect your most constraining elements? It's when you can just hire somebody to do that job or have that skill set. For example, let's say you make videos. This is the easiest one because it's the easiest to understand. Let's say you're a content creator, and maybe you're a streamer with X amount of subscribers, and you could increase your income, let's say, by 50% if you increase your viewers by 50%, or you could translate your content into YouTube, and it would be much easier for you to just hire if you have enough viewers, to just hire someone to watch your streams and take sections and edit the videos and make those, than to learn it yourself and spend the extra time to do it. If you're popular enough. And then from there, instead of trying to double your viewers, it would be more cost effective to make money other ways, whether it's merch, sometimes maybe it's courses, sponsorships, and etc. Now, I'm not saying you should just do all of those things, but I'm just saying, rather than trying to double the one thing you're good at, if you make it more horizontal, if rather than just trying to do this, expand this one thing, for example, double your customers, try to extend across and increase through other metrics. Basically the point. Another example is, instead of trying to improve your math or science or history from 90% to 100%, it's much easier to improve your geography from 50% to 80%, and you get much better results. The example Alex used was, let's say you have 3 steps. Let's say you're selling something. Okay. Let's say you're selling something and you have to get the advertisement and then the website and then the purchase. So let's say when they see the advertisement, there's a 60% chance they click. Okay. So out of the 100% of the people who see the ad, 60% of them click. Not very realistic, but just hypothetically, I'm making up these 3 steps. He just had 3 steps, and I'm making up 3 steps to insert into the equation. And then once they get to the website, there's a 20% chance they click buy. And once they click buy, there's a 60% chance they go through, enter their details, and send the money. Okay. Well, so if you improve the advertisement, maybe you can increase it from 60% to 70%. If you improve maybe the purchasing feature and make it easier for them to enter their details, maybe with a one-click PayPal login to buy, then you can increase that conversion rate from 60% to 70%. But maybe if you improve your website, like just hire someone to make your website look way nicer, you can increase that conversion rating from 20% to 40%. Or in his example, it was 30%. So in all 3 cases, you're improving the conversion rate by 10%. But in the website, the relative increase is 50% versus the other ones, which the relative increase is about 14% or 18%. And the way this works is these are filters, which means it's multiplicative. So if you start with 100 people, now you have 60 who click the ad, and of those 60, you have 12 who press buy, and then out of those 12, you have maybe 6 or 7 people who actually buy the thing. So if you increase it by 50%, one of them by 50%, you increase your final number by 50%. So if you improve your most constraining feature, the bottleneck, if you widen the bottleneck, you get much more result for effort. If you have a bottle and you keep increasing the size of the bottle but not widening the bottleneck, you're never going to be able to pour faster. Which is basically the point. So focus on your most constraining feature. That should be the priority for improving value. Because all the factors are multiplicative. let me see. Own what you sell. Right. So this one is again by Alex, which is basically to say, if you sell based on the result and not based on the product, then you can earn much more. For example, let's say you make websites, like you make websites just look way better. If you make someone's website look way better and sell that service for $1,000, there's going to be people who find that expensive and people who find that cheap. You make $1,000 regardless, and so the customers who find it cheap will buy your service and you'll make $1,000. But if you say you want to earn maybe say 10% of the increased conversions that they could observe statistically after the website improves, then how much you make depends on the customer, and they never lose out. That's an example, and obviously it's not that simple, but the easier example is sponsorships. So if you get paid based on whether or not you accept the sponsorship, or based on how many people use your code, which it's usually the second one, then you can actually get paid directly based on your level of impact. So that way, you have an influence. Like if you have if you do your job better, you get paid more, basically, essentially. And that's why also if their product is better. So if you're selling, if you're running a sponsorship for a product that already sells very well versus a product that nobody knows or likes, then you're going to make a different amount of money. So that way, the point is that you can make more based on who you work with, even if you do the same work, basically. Because like for them, your product is worth more. But if you have fixed price, then you never have access to people who are willing to pay more, because you're always charging the same amount, even for them, or something like that. Anyways. Which book was this from? Anyways, I think this is from 101 Essays, but that makes this pretty old, because I returned that book a while ago. That thing, the nature of which is totally unknown to you, is usually what you need to find, and finding it is a matter of getting lost. Oh, this is from The Pathless Path. Okay, so basically, the point is, the thing you most need to find is something you currently don't know about, and the only way to find it is to first be lost. How can you find the way if you're never lost and searching? So, for example, let's say there is in a city of your dreams, hypothetically. But if you just stay in your city all the time and never get lost, you'll never find it, or never go out searching. So the point is, you can't really know what you want without exploring. And if you just stay within your comfort zone, then you'll never really know what it is that you want. And I think this is why they say that if you have a kid, if you have two kids, this was some study where basically they studied the highest performing athletes, and generally it was the athletes who, when they were a kid, they tried a bunch of different sports and then came back to this one, and then ended up on this one. because they explore the different things. It's not just about it's partly because they connect the dots, but also because they have the feeling of knowing that this is what they want. Whereas if for the kids who start with that sport and then focus on it, in the short term they perform better because the other one is still exploring. So their graph looks like this, but they usually either top out early or they quit. Whereas the highest performing athletes are exploring and then they grow and then they keep growing because they're more likely to stick with it in the long term. I heard it from some TED Talk a long time ago. I can't remember where. This was years ago, I think, or maybe it was months ago. I don't even know. The more we associate money with life, the more we convince ourselves that we are too poor to buy freedom. So again, this was from Pathless Path, which is to say that the people who are extremely tied up by their career in their life, and it's of the nature where you're not just trying to advance your career, but the kind where you feel like you can never change directions, or you don't even consider it. They always are working for their paycheck. Like, they are tied to the career advancement, and in order to change directions would often include a short-term decrease in salary, for example, or maybe even if it doesn't, it would require a large shift or transition. And so they always have they just work with retirement on the horizon, basically, rather than having this. It's not goal oriented, right? It's very going through the motions kind of thing. So the idea of freedom isn't like it's a very sounds like it feels like they would be jumping off a cliff to retire or to try something new because it's too dangerous or they don't have enough money. Hence, I'll read it one more time. The more we associate money with life, the more we convince ourselves that we are too poor to buy freedom. And he proposes in the book the following: to try mini retirements, which are basically like vacations for a couple months to 6 months, where you treat it like you're retiring temporarily. And it would be like a sample of your future. And then you can go, is this what I want to work my life towards? Or maybe you can work towards something where, you're still involved with work to some extent. Okay. If retirement wasn't an option, how would your decisions change? So obviously, the point of this idea is what if you were to look for a job where your goal wasn't to retire and your goal was to live your life with doing this kind of work, and you do this work because this is the work you choose, and then you don't do it with the intention of retiring. And maybe one day you will retire, but you're not working today with the express intention of one day I retire. Okay. That is sufficient.